So we're hot. We're live. All right, welcome to CptsLogs podcast, show with everything aviation and more. I'm your host number one, Richard Tolo, the Jamaican Bacon. We got Mark Nowak with us. How you doing, bud?
Good, man. I'm trying to think of like a nickname for me right there.
I thought about it. Do you have a nickname?
No.
You have nothing at all?
No.
All right, so we have a really good show today, a relatively good segment, something I'm actually interested in. Today we actually do have a guest on our show. This is our first show that actually will be on YouTube and this video, and we're all recording. So bear with us. But we do have our first guest. So Cameron here is actually, believe it or not, somebody very special to me. He's actually the instructor that signed me off for my private pilot. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Apply heading 230. Runway 27 left. Clear for takeoff. Turn right heading 060. Descend and maintain 5,000.
What about you, Mark? What do you say
Never
about
my
that?
instructor.
Really?
Ground instructor.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever flew together though.
Did we do any check rides at all? Any stage checks?
No.
Nothing.
No,
huh?
I always got the big guy.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep
Yeah.
me right.
You never flown with Cameron at all?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
The only other person I flew with other than the big guy, Rex, and Drew was, what's his name? Bob.
Bob.
And
Oh,
Bob, if
Bob,
you're listening,
man.
man,
Bob,
we miss
yeah.
you, buddy.
Bob's
Oh,
great.
good guy.
Bob's my boy. Yeah.
The nicest guy in the world.
He seems to like creep out every now and then and say hello, whether it's like LinkedIn or Facebook or something, like, and then he disappears,
Oh.
scurries back into the
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Anyways, Cameron, I'll let you introduce yourself since I screwed it up. If you want to do a quick general overview of what you actually, where you are, what you do, and so forth. Not as specific, just general, if you want.
Sure. Yeah. No. First off, happy to be here. Excited to be your guys' first guest. I appreciate the opportunity for this. I think it's exciting for both you guys as well. So, cheers to that. As you said, I am a corporate pilot. I fly out of Scottsdale. So I've been doing that now since, for different employers, but my current one, been with them since 2018, flying 2000 EX Easy and a 2000 Classic.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, very similar airplanes, just different avionics platforms. A little more power on one, but pretty similar. So, Part 91 gig,
What's Part 91?
Part 91 is just a segment of the industry and in terms of the rules of which we operate under.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can be a Part 91, Part 135, more of your charter, on-demand stuff, and then Part 121, which would take care of all your airline, airline guys.
okay.
So
You don't fly Part 135?
I don't know currently.
Oh, okay.
I have before, been in that industry before, but no, we are just Part 91, which just kind of simplifies things in a lot of ways, depending on how you look at it. Gives you a little more freedom. So especially if you are the person who's kind of putting stuff together, or if you're trying to plan flights, it's not as restrictive as you may come across with 135 or 121. So
Yeah, I remember you saying to me when I was your student that you will never go to the airline. Like you said it. We were in a plane, and I'm like, oh. This was back when I was a student. I don't know anything about anything. And I'm like, I want to be an airline pilot. I want to, and he's like, I want nothing to do with that shit. It's like,
He's probably smart.
I'll get, I don't want to get in trouble saying it. I think, look, I coming through the industry now and the exposure I've had to at least the 135, the Part 91, there are I think there are pros and cons of every industry. I think you guys obviously probably know that as well. Your listeners out there, for those who are still kind of figuring that out or navigating that path there, you can't talk bad about something until you really get into it.
Yeah.
I will say this. So, just as long as it's out there, yeah, obviously I've never gone through 121. I've never experienced it. I have tons of friends and, previous colleagues who have, and so I can at least speak to their experiences.
Yeah.
And I will say that I think that there are there are a lot of benefits to the airlines, but there are also a ton of benefits to corporate. You know, and the 135. It really depends on what you're looking for. I think what I would say to most people now is it comes down to just what you are looking for in terms of quality of life. You know, there are certain people in what stage of life you're in. You know, there are certain people who are young, you know, single, whatever the case may be, want to travel the world, want to move around a lot. You know, they can get away with doing something like an airline, starting out and being able to, you know, get based out of different states and move no problem. Other guys who have families and have routes already set, that's not as flexible. You know, commuting and all that isn't going to be a great option. So a corporate job that keeps them local, you know, could be a better fit, or a company that lets you, you know, buys you airline tickets, you know, and you know, it does that. I mean, it just all depends, you know. So schedule, you know, I would say that bar none, I work way less than any of my airline friends do, you know. So, you know, for what it's worth, that's been great. Now I don't have a fixed schedule, you know, so it's a trade-off, you know. But you know, just depends what you're looking for, you know.
Yeah. And that's, you know, as we move forward here, you stay tuned throughout the entire podcast. We'll go through these diverse route, because the aviation industry is very diverse. There's so many different options you have and so many different things you can take. So for you newbies, you aviation enthused, and you non-aviation people trying to figure this out, we're going to compare the different platform, the corporate flying compared to the airline, and see what are the different, some of the the routes, the schedule. So you can see what's available, what fits you, and so forth. So we'll get into this. Stay tuned to the end to get the answers to this information. So we'll jump on that. Falcon 2000.
Mm-hmm.
How's that aircraft?
Great airplane. You know, the 2000 Classic. It's I consider it's timeless. It flies like a nice little sports car. You know, it doesn't have the most power in the world, but the thing is just, you know, you can fly with your fingers. It's just nimble as can be.
So you do a lot of hand flying when you're.
Well, you know, we try to, because I mean, again, we don't fly weekly, you know. You know, it's like a lot of times. Typically, I try to fly at least through, you know, take off and climb through 18, and then usually we'll go to autopilot from that point. And then same thing coming into land. Usually, you know, try to hand fly it down, depending on where we're going, depending on the environment, you know, the weather conditions, all that. Sometimes it's a lot easier to let the autopilot handle it until you're in a nice, you know, controlled descent, you know, stabilized approach even sometimes, just to let the airplane do the hard work and then you take over. But just depends on the environment, you know. But yeah, try to hand fly when you can, you know, keep your skills sharp. So
is that I'm assuming, is that a single operation or is it two pilot?
No, those are both airplanes are required two crew.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, they're considered heavy, you know, heavy business jets in the industry. I mean,
right.
You know, yeah, we do nonstop out of, you know, Scottsdale to Hawaii.
Oh wow.
And easy. They're both you know, transcontinental type airplanes, and they'll go coast to coast, no problem.
Wow.
So they're you know, they're not small by any means.
They're not. I've seen the Falcons. They're huge.
Yeah, they're not the biggest out there.
Yeah.
And it depends on, you know, I mean, you have your 900s or your 7Xs, 8Xs. You know, those are bigger. But these are the next step down.
Gotcha.
So, you know, yeah, they're and the Easy is just the same frame basically as a Classic, just more power on the engines there, and the avionics is different, a little more advanced, as you know, you'd call it. You know, they call it Easy, but the avionics system is just definitely more advanced than what you'd see on the Classic.
And then both pilots, you guys are both PIC type.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, you know, we just trade off legs or trade off days when we're flying.
Gotcha.
Which makes it easy, you know. So yeah.
Nice.
You know.
How was the training?
Training's good, man. Training's fun.
How long does it take to get through that training? I'm curious.
Well, when you get your initials, so you go for your initial type ratings. I think, God, it's been a while since I did the Classic, but I remember the Classic was probably about 17 days, and the Easy was a little more. Easy was like 26 days. So yeah, it was a little bit long. And again, that's mostly because you're trying to learn the avionics system. You know, the joke is they call it easy. Like the avionics is an easy system, but there's nothing easy about it when you're trying to learn it. You know? So it's like kind of like, who called it easy? You know, whose idea was that? You know, but yeah, you know, but there are out there. I mean, geez, I had a buddy who was they were in school for like 31 days for, I want to say, one of the globals or something. So you know, I mean, it gets them longer than that.
Yeah, well, that's a good trade-off, because in the airline, God, Part 121, your first month you're doing indocs.
Yeah.
See, I haven't even looked at the plane yet.
Yeah.
Do you guys do indocs in?
Not in Part
Necessarily?
91, no.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
Part 9,
Exojet,
exactly.
Exojet we did.
Oh, you
so,
did, yeah?
Yeah, so Part
Okay.
135 we did. But, yeah.
And then you go to systems, which is
Mhm.
maybe, and then maybe you can go look at the plane if you can get through that. So you're like, it's like, 2.5 months.
Right, I've heard
You
that.
know,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, some people need it though. You know,
Mhm.
some people, I mean, they have a hard time with it, but that's another, I guess, if you want to compare that and see the difference. If you want to be efficient, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more that goes with your. I mean, I'm assuming you have to do the flight plans and or do somebody do that stuff for you?
Yeah. And again, that's an important piece to bring up. I mean,
Yeah.
for people who are, and again, if you were to ask me, okay, because I get asked this quite a bit, why did you choose corporate over going to the airlines?
Good question. Yeah.
And I think I can't make the argument. I mean, going to the airlines as a pilot, not to take away, and I think any airline pilot would agree with this, the work to actually get the airplane ready to fly is pretty much done for you. You've got to do and you could agree with that, Richard. I mean,
Absolutely.
you've got to, obviously you still got to do your pre-flight stuff and get the airplane, quote unquote ready. But you have your flight attendant, crew, staff doing the whole thing in the back, and the passengers ready. You do your walk around, and then you're inside the cockpit loading up the flight plan that's given to you from dispatch.
Yep. Yep.
And they've already told you about the weather and.
Oh yeah.
They tell you how much fuel you're taking on, and you just verify it, right? So
Yep.
it's pretty much done for you, which is great. I mean, that's efficient. That's how the airlines have to operate.
Yeah.
As a corporate pilot, yeah, you're responsible for all that. Now, granted, we have, you have nice systems. I mean, flightplan.com or, now I'm drawing a blank, AirInc. Those are software programs that, do a lot of the hard work for us as well. Makes the flight planning easy, calculates the fuel load that you'll need, and you got to still do your performance and all that, but it's all done electronically. You're not crunching numbers like we used to.
Not whipping that chart out.
Yeah, you're not
Plotter and stuff.
Somebody's seen my plotter. Where's my Z6B? Damn it!
Yeah. You're not doing that. So I mean, it's not terrible. But I will say again, I enjoy doing that stuff. I think it keeps me more. I guess I'll use the word. It just kind of keeps you mentally, sharp.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
It doesn't let you get as lazy as I feel like maybe you would, and that's just me. I mean, I just if I'm not doing something, I tend to not think about it. And it's like for me flying, I don't necessarily want that to be the norm. So I kind of prefer being a little bit more involved on everything that goes into it. So I know if something's not right, I'll catch it quickly. That's kind of my thought.
Getting back on that, it's funny when I was a captain of 175. You know what 175 is?
Oh yeah,
Every
that's a good
175?
size airplane.
Beautiful
That's
aircraft.
no joke.
It's no joke, man.
No.
Yeah. But anyways, it's funny. You're talking about it's a good size airplane. We were coming from the hotel, and for some reason there was traffic, and we got to the airplane late. So we were probably 20 minutes from departure. We want to get to the airport at least an hour prior, whatever. So we're 20 minutes. We rolled in. We were able to get that plane based on the efficiency of the airline. Get that plane, everything loaded up in the airplane within 15 minutes. The entire aircraft boarded, passengers boarded, and everything ready to go. Doors locked.
Yeah.
15 minutes. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Roll out.
Yeah.
But that's how the airline, like you said, that's how the airline has to be able to operate.
Right.
Like Southwest did. What did they used to do? Like, was it 18-minute turn or some shit like that?
I bet it was crazy. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
if you were to land and it's a quick turn, I mean, they're herding you off the plane like you're cattle,
Yeah.
It's just
Let's go.
Yeah, they're close the shades and the fueler's already there, and it's just they're
man.
they're turning burning. It's money, it's revenue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your schedule wise? So generally in the I'll talk a little bit about what my company, not too much, but basic schedule for the airlines. Usually, back when I was up with Envoy, 121, it was usually, it could be 4 on, 3 off, 5 on. It depends on your bid because obviously it's union. So, and if you commute, if you have 5 on, 2 off, you get 2 days home. You got to commute, so you get 1.5 day home, really.
Right.
So that's, we'll talk more about that scheduling. So what's your, generally, when it comes to your scheduling?
Right. So
what's yours?
So I've experienced, in the corporate world now, I've worked with, two companies, and then I've worked for one private owner. So that's been my business aviation so far. Now, I did Exojet, which was 135, so we'll side that for it now. That's not really part of this schedule. That schedule was 8 on, 6 off. Just that was fixed for a whole year.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah. So
is that a nice schedule? You like that?
again, so here we go back to the quality of life thing. I was,
Yeah.
I had just come out of a relationship when I got on with them. Actually, I think we were kind of in the middle of ending it as I got on with them, and I think that schedule may or may not have kind of put that over the edge. But so for the 99% of my time with that company, I was single. So as a single guy, that was fine. I mean, I had nothing to come back home to, So yeah, it was. They call it 8 on, 6 off. You had basically the front and the back end were travel days. So really, it was essentially 6 days on, 6 days off. But you had 2 travel days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think it was bad, and it was fixed for the whole year. So you could, if you could plan out your entire year in terms of if you want to take vacation, whatever the case is, you have a whole hard week off.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't mind that. Again, if you're in a relationship or if you have kids, I could see how that would be a challenge for your.
So that's not that sounds like a good schedule for. Maybe it's just me. That's probably why I'm divorced.
Well,
but that sounds like a great schedule for like a relationship, is it?
Well, again, it depends on if you value consistency or not. I mean,
Yeah.
I think people. Some spouses are okay with it and they don't mind it. Others, it's like you're gone way too much. I mean, yeah, you add it up, you're gone over like 200 days a year. So it's still you're still gone away from home. You will miss inevitably. You'll miss events that you wish you could attend, right? And it's not as easy to get those off. So that was the chart of the 135. The corporate side of things, so flying for companies or an owner, you're a little bit more, as they say, on call, but in my experience, and again, I've done this now with 2 companies and a private owner, I can count on one hand the amount of times that I've had an actual true like day of pop up, where it's like we need to go today.
Oh, it's random. It's like,
right, like family emergency type of thing.
Get a call right now.
Right, yeah, we need to go. It just because again, depending on that would obviously dictate maybe the type of employer you're working for would kind of I guess determine what kind of schedule you'd have. But for most businesses, they're not operating that way. They kind of plan their stuff out because you got to think about the passengers you're flying. You're flying executives, you're flying pretty prominent people. They don't just need to like leave their office on a whim and go somewhere.
Right.
It's just they have people for that.
Yeah.
There's a pop-up meeting in Germany. We got to get their stat.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way for most cases.
Yeah. Not even the military operates like that, believe it or not. Usually they know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon to say, hey, we have a trip this week and we'll get that like on a Sunday. That's not totally uncommon. Again, the whole thing is, if you need time off, if you need a vacation, you put in for it, just like you would if you're a normal employee of a company, Yeah. And that's how you kind of protect yourself. But otherwise, you got to be flexible.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I guess I kind of rambled there, but to answer your question, in terms of scheduling, I mean, last year, I flew 120 hours. And that's I mean, to put that in perspective, that's you guys can do the math. That's 10 hours a month, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it wasn't bad at all. And I can tell you for sure there was I think a month or 2 in there that I probably didn't even break 3 hours.
Wow.
So
I believe it.
yeah. I mean,
I get antsy when I don't fly that much as GA.
yeah, I do too. I mean, we find ourselves having to go out and just do like currency flights just to kind of like stay fresh and be like,
Right.
we're not having to be 9-day current after this,
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's the same thing for the company I fly with now. I mean, and we do a lot of augmented flights.
Mm-hmm.
With this 4 crews or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And so everybody's like, so who needs landing? We're
Yeah.
like, oh, we all need landings, so we got to figure out like who's gonna do the landings. But it's the same thing. I mean, we don't fly. It's Part 121 supplemental, which means it's a Part 121 rules, but it's not the exact same platform or whatnot. But the only reason I probably fly 10 hours or so, 20 hours a month, because you're long flights.
Right.
That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Well, you do 1 flight, maybe 2 flights, and that's it. And
That's
you're done
it.
for
Yeah,
the
you're
you're
done.
done for the entire.
Yeah.
So just go real quick. I was just curious. Do you guys have more than 1 crew then? So when you guys need time off?
Right. Yeah. So, the 2 companies I've flown for now, we had, each company had 2 airplanes and 5 pilots. So
Okay.
that's pretty standard typically. Most companies try to have, you figure typically you need 3 pilots per airplane, typically. That's kind of the math you want for a good quality of life. It can be done without it, obviously. And again, it just comes down to the demand of your owners or your company. That's what
Yeah.
it comes down to. I mean, my very first corporate job, I can say this now because they don't have a flight department anymore. They got rid of it. But so PetSmart,
Oh
you
yeah, I
know,
remember
that was
that.
my first job, which by and far was the best job in the world. I
Really?
Had. Yeah. I mean, I would give anything to have that job back.
Oh,
And,
wow.
if any of the guys who were working with me are listening, they would agree. I know that because I keep in touch with them. But that job was just hands down, and especially now that I know what I know from a schedule standpoint. I mean, we didn't work weekends, we didn't work holidays. In an aviation, that's like unheard of. You know what I mean? So you just just know you're going to work those. You're going to. I mean,
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And I've already worked a handful of Christmases over my career and Thanksgivings, and I mean, you start working your way up. It's just like anything. You get seniority and you start getting better quality of life. But yeah, when you're just getting started out, just plan on doing it.
F&G, you're working Christmas, boy.
Yeah.
So what equipment were you on there at PetSmart?
So PetSmart, I was actually, again, ironically, I was on a Falcon 2000 Classic.
Oh, okay.
And so that was my first jet. I mean, I went straight from flight instructing to that airplane. So that was a huge leap.
How many hours were you at that point?
I was at 2,800 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
damn.
Yeah. I mean,
that gets you a lot of, in 2019, you had 3,000 hours. The world's your oyster.
Yeah, man, that was a lot.
Well, you guys may forget, I was a flight instructor for 5 years. I mean, you don't. That was kind of rare at the time, and that was by choice. I mean, I enjoyed doing it, and
plus back then, like it wasn't as
the industry wasn't what it is today. Even pre-COVID, it wasn't what it was. I mean, it's not even close. Not even close.
There's at least hope now.
Oh yeah.
Post COVID, it's like, it's all gonna bounce back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember when you were instructing and we were students. It was like, how the hell are we doing this?
yeah. Trust me.
Look at these guys; they can't even get jobs.
Trust me. Yeah. I mean, you were lucky to get a regional interview. And even then, I mean, there was they were putting you through the ringer for the interview process. And some of it's justified. I mean, you don't want just throwing anyone in the airplanes. I mean,
trying to weed you out to get the best.
Yeah.
Well, back then they could.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah,
they could. They could.
Pilots were a dime a dozen.
Yep. They had. They had the luxury of candidates on their side. So things changed drastically, as you guys know, and now they're in a position where they can't fill the seats. And they're looking for breathing bodies again.
That's got to be another perk though. That corporate is I'm still somewhat volatile, but. I would imagine like COVID probably didn't affect you guys.
So that's
a good question.
Maybe. I mean, if you guys isn't traveling, but
it's an issue. No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, it did take a hit to a degree, but not nearly as big as airlines did. Which back in 2008, 2009, that whole like 2 or 3 year period where the airlines were taking a beating, corporate was almost dead. I mean,
really?
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, because it was a totally different type of recession back then. That was financial. 2008 was a financial recession, which obviously, a corporate flight department is one of the largest expenses of a business. I mean, it's
first thing to go.
So when they're going down the list of where can we cut back and save money, okay, well, here's a start.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of these two.
Who are these three dudes and what are they doing here?
Yeah. So you can appreciate why they're it's not a hard decision for them. So, but during COVID, I mean, I know some businesses probably scaled back. But I don't know if they necessarily sold their jets. I mean, the business jet market was in high demand all through COVID. I mean, people were trying to get them, whether it was for personal use or businesses who still wanted to try to be flexible and have the freedom to fly and not have the restrictions of the airlines.
Yeah.
They were trying to get their hands on them. So, I always tell people, like, there is no true safe path in aviation.
Yeah.
It's just part of the industry. It's a trade-off. We do what, we're fortunate enough to be able to do what so many people dream or wish they could do, and because you always hear that, right? I always wanted to be a pilot, or I always just wish I could fly. What a cool career. It is. It's a great career, but it comes with its, with its challenges and its unknowns, and that's just part of it. You just have to be able to roll with it and, keep yourself in a position where you can, hopefully network yourself and be flexible. I mean, that's the best advice I can give someone is just, don't be so stubborn in your ways that, and don't think you're invincible because, the best story I tell people is, when I got hired on PetSmart, I was getting, joked by all the other pilots there because, I mean, again, and this is not to stroke an ego, but I mean, I was here as a CFI, getting a job flying for a company that they had well more qualified applicants than me, who actually had jet time and that stuff. But they were looking to hire somebody they could kind of mentor and train up. So I was a good fit for them. And when I got hired, they told me, you must have a horseshoe up your ass because, this is, you just found your retirement gig, because it was one of the, if not the best job at Scottsdale.
The PetSmart job?
Yeah.
They were saying?
Yeah. I mean, the flight department had been around for like 15 years. Again, the quality of life was just, unheard of.
Yeah.
And there was just no signs of them going anywhere. They had purchased 2 new jets when I got there. They had bought two Challenger 350s that they were planning on taking delivery of. So there was a lot of stuff that,
So what's going on? What happened with that? Is that
I'll tell you about to get to that.
I'm curious.
So they told me your first job you land is a retirement job. You'll never have to leave this place.
Yeah.
So imagine me being this 28-year-old guy thinking, man, I struck gold here, and I just found my dream job as a corporate pilot. 1 year later, we got laid off. I mean,
welcome.
Yeah, I mean, who could have thought? I was blindsided, but we all were. I mean, it wasn't a laugh matter then, but it's you can laugh at it now because you're like, I mean, what happened? So, yeah, that
what
was
did happen? Is it just financial?
They had a change in leadership. Fancy word for saying you had a new CEO come on board.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Change in leadership, and that oftentimes, unfortunately, puts the flight department in jeopardy because, from what I've experienced and what I've been told when I've heard from, other fellow, pilots in the industry is that typically when you have a change in leadership, it's rare that they value the flight department the same way the previous one did.
Right.
Oh, really?
Or they're coming in for a reason, and their first objective is going to probably be to, increase the bottom line, cut costs, and they're going to look. That's the best way for them to look good right away.
Make a difference as quick as possible.
Yep. So they may pick it back up a couple years down the road, but initially it's like, let me make a dent in this, and we'll get rid of all that right now. So
sucks.
Yeah. So that's what happened. They sold the company, and we were the first ones to go during that transition of getting sold. So
how long were you there?
I was there for 1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah. Did you see yourself at that point going back to UND? Were you just like, oh?
Well, I did. I had to.
Oh, you did? Did you go back there?
I had to. Yeah. I mean, so fortunately, they gave us a good severance package, and all that, and they left us where we could still land on our feet, which is great. But I was blindsided, and I only acquired like 200 hours. So I had acquired a type rating, which was great.
Yeah.
And experience. I mean, it was great flying, and I was mentored by. I still consider some of the best pilots I've ever flown with. So I had that on my side. But again, you're a 200-hour, with one type rating. You can't really call yourself a captain. It was a PIC type rating, but I can't really say I was a captain.
Yeah.
I was still learning a ton. So I was marketable, more marketable than I was, coming into the job. But I found it hard to find work, and at the time. Scottsdale, there wasn't a whole lot going on still. That would have been back in September of 2014 when they laid us off. So I got hired in October of 2013, September 2014 they laid us off. They kept us on until like the end of October, but basically, I started applying to other gigs and wasn't getting any traction, so I went back to UND.
This was 2000.
That was 2014. Yep. So, it wasn't that the economy was bad.
It was just really kind of
starting to come out of it.
Starting
to come out of it, yeah. I mean, I probably could have gone to the airlines at that point now. With
most likely.
With a little more confidence, and I probably would have been looked at a little
Definitely.
bit. Yeah. So that, I thought about that, but I just come off of the best job in the world. So I really wanted nothing to do at that point.
Because, man, if you would not going to regional, because you'd have been in the bottom, it's in the basement of the airport.
You're working Christmas, Christmas,
boy. Yeah, dude. You're commuting.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting paid. Who knows what the hell you're even getting paid?
Definitely.
That would have not been it'd have been a tough transition.
No, my thought was okay. I had some money saved up now, so I was okay there financially. I mean, it was just me living in a condo. It wasn't like I was needing to come out each month all this cash. So I was like, okay, I went back to UND.
Yeah.
Just went back and doing stage checks and check rides. Picked up where I left off, basically. And that was my way of just kind of staying current. And so I started doing that like in November of 2014, and then March of 2015, I got on with ExoJet. And flying the 135, which in hindsight now, that was probably, to be honest with you, barring PetSmart never going away, but assuming it probably would have happened sooner or later, I think getting on with ExoJet was probably the best thing for my career in the long run.
Yeah.
Just because of the amount of exposure it gave me to, flying, just the abundance of flying. We're flying Challenger 300s, which is a great airplane. Just tons of power, and it can get in and out of small airports, high and hot situations, high and heavy. But we flew all over the country. A little bit international. Going down to South America and things like that, and so it gave me the exposure that I would have taken a long time to get at PetSmart.
Yeah.
And I was flying like 5 times as much. I think I did 700 hours my first year or something,
Wow.
close to something like that, maybe 6. I can't remember, but it was a lot. It was
You flying celebrities?
I did.
Oh.
Yeah. That was a cool part of the job. That I wish I would have had the guts to get pictures and that stuff.
Were you allowed to?
No, we weren't allowed to.
But you could have done it and just kept it.
I know people who did,
Yeah.
and I kind of wish now I'm like, God, I should have done that. But you're an FO, you're new,
Yeah,
you're just
yeah.
like, I don't want to create that kind of
Yeah,
name
man.
for myself. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think about some of the celebrities I flew, and I'm like,
And at the same time, like, I've been around a lot of celebrities. It's just like, I've always felt like I don't want them to know that I think shit of them. So I'm always like, yeah, I see you. You're
Yeah.
cool, but
Yeah.
whatever, bro.
yeah, go.
Whatever.
Yeah, sit down. The seatbelt sign's on.
Yeah.
Very
See
nice,
my
dude.
bars?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
that's funny.
but it was a good job.
Anybody notable?
Yeah,
top-
I mean,
Top
yeah,
3.
okay, for
Well,
me,
definitely.
yeah, for me,
Cameron top 3.
For me, my top 3 I'm not saying these would have been my. If I could have picked them going into it, I don't know if these guys would have made the list. But out of all the ones I flew, the top 3 were Will Smith.
Oh.
For
Yep.
some reason, I was picturing him in my head when you were.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh.
No, I flew him twice, and he was equally cool both times. Our plane had a little like maintenance malfunction. We were like upstate New York, so
Yeah.
we were all sitting on the airplane together for like 3 hours waiting for a recovery aircraft to come. So had a chance to kind of chat with him a little bit longer than normal.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I actually, kind of funny story. I don't want to sideline on it, but
Oh,
Independence Day. If you guys remember that movie,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He was obviously he was the main character and the fighter pilot and all that. And that was, that movie came out in I think like 96 or something.
I was still
crazy.
Jamaican in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, I think I was maybe
Yeah.
7th grade or something. I can't remember. That kind of ages myself now. But that was one of the first movies, that and Top Gun. But I was watching them both at the same time. Basically, those 2 movies are like what really captured my
Oh, really?
my like love for aviation. Like it made me want to go become a fighter pilot, which obviously didn't happen.
You wanted to fly a UFO, didn't you?
Yeah, but you just
I can see
envision,
that.
you just wanted to be that guy flying that fighter jet when all hell breaks loose in this
Yeah.
country, and like whatever.
yeah.
But so I told him that I was like, Independence Day was one of like the movies that really like literally locked me in on wanting to become a pilot, and he gave me a fist pump. I thought it was pretty
nice.
cool. Yeah, he was
That's
like,
cool.
word,
Word.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
Number 2.
Number
Num-
2.
Number 2, I would say was probably Brett Favre. Flew him and his family. So
Football.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. Football.
Hey,
Yeah.
Richard didn't
Yeah.
know that.
No, I know that.
I saw him
I definitely-
thinking. He was thinking.
I
Yeah.
definitely know that.
I'm a big NFL fan, so that was big for me.
Okay, cool.
Flying him, and he was nicest family. I mean, we flew them back to their home in Mississippi.
Wow.
Nicest family. I mean, super friendly. Because they don't have to be. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
when you think about their position,
Yeah.
they get hassled all the time. They get on an airplane. That's like kind of their
Private time.
That's
Yep.
their private time, right? But they were very, social and offered us some of the food they had, which wasn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't take it. We didn't need any, but it's like
Yeah.
just that kind of shows you what they're all about, So just really nice people. I would say also probably for me it was just kind of more like I just know how big they are on a celebrity platform. I wouldn't say they're like my
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt and
Knew
Angelina
it.
Jolie.
Number
Hey,
three.
man, that's funny.
That was
I can
I'm
definitely-
saying that was probably the biggest,
Yeah, man. Those guys are.
we flew them. And again, equally very nice.
Yeah, they adopted 20 kids.
Yeah. Well, we had.
They gotta have hearts.
We had 7 of them on board. So,
Oh,
yeah.
We're overweight, man. We're gonna need to unleash at least 3 children.
Yeah. We can't accommodate all this. No, it was. They
That's
were
really
very, very nice. And again, they didn't have to be, but I mean, not all of them are. I
Yeah.
can say that, and I
Oh,
won't.
really?
I won't say those ones.
Obviously
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
but interesting.
But yeah, I mean,
Can you say what? Don't say who they are, but you can say what they did.
Well, just I mean, it wasn't even so much what they did; it's what they wouldn't do. like they wouldn't make eye contact with you while you're giving them a briefing. If you asked them if they want anything, they would just kind of be looking at their phone and just kind of shaking their head like no, like it's just kind of one of those things where it's like it's not like I'm asking you for your autograph. I'm just asking for you to pay attention while I point. Yeah, while I point out what's going on the airplane here. And a couple they would just make a mess. Like just a blatant mess, like something that a 2-year-old would do. And just get off the airplane and walk out. And again, look, I'm sure if you're at home saying, hey, look, if I paid $40,000 for a charter, I can leave it as a mess too. Mm-hmm. I get you. You're right. That's our job. But it's kind of to what you just said, Mark. I'm like, I feel like if you're human, you just kind of know like. Pick up after yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've seen some of the Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I follow some of the corporate pilot.
Yeah.
And they post pictures like really, the passengers that leave, and it's like some of the pictures I see are just absolutely atrocious.
Yeah. There's no reason for it.
I mean, they like crushed crackers into the carpet and water bottles everywhere. And it's horrible.
It's horrible. Yeah. And that was it. That was part of it where you're just kind of like, wow. I mean, if they had kids, I kind of understood. But I mean, or there'd be some that they come with like a list of instructions, like, you feel like you're flying like a troll or something that like, you can't, you don't,
Gremlin.
Yeah. Gremlin.
Don't feed her after midnight.
Yeah. Yeah. They would have like on their, on our passenger manifest would come with like instructions on like, don't talk to them, don't ask them, how
really?
their day. Yeah. I mean, all sorts of stuff, make sure there's, water that's room temperature. It's like, God, jeez, okay. I mean, it just, again, I'm just kind of like, I don't know.
Well, this is good though, because this is the, as we talk about the, Part 121 versus 135,
right.
What route you want to take is that you have, that's your job.
Yeah.
When it comes to,
absolutely.
Do you want to do that? Is that that's your job? So, I mean, the benefits and the pros and cons that come with those particular platforms. So you have any questions when it comes to like the airline, like some of the things you think you're curious about?
I mean, let me say, okay, so like I said, I have a lot of friends who are in airlines. I have friends with, the big boys, the Southwest, the Deltas. I mean, I admire all of them putting up with some of the stuff they put up, just like I'm sure they know what kind of stuff I've had to go through, getting laid off or, I mean, I think anyone can agree that you'll never work harder than you do at Charter. Charter 135 is, I think, hands down the hardest segment of the industry that you can probably be in terms of just the amount that's required from you as a pilot. Not saying that it's not, that it's not beneath you. It's just they put more onus on the pilots to make sure the job gets done. Now ExoJet was a great company. I mean, for all the horror stories that I heard about 135, for me, I thought ExoJet was like, top notch then, because we had the one thing, even though there was a ton of work, and sometimes you'd work really long days and you'd land thinking you're done, and they'd tell you and say, well, we've got a recovery trip. You guys got to fuel and head back east, and you're like, oh my gosh, and that would always kind of, but you kind of learn to look at it. You're like, look, I'm on the road for a week. I'm here to work. Like, so let's just do it. But at the same time, you had a support system around you. I mean, you could pick up a phone call and say, whatever the problem may be, and they'll have like 8 people working on it like that.
Oh, really?
Which you don't get that, in my opinion. I mean, maybe the airlines give that to you as well, probably. But, from a Part 91 corporate pilot position, you're kind of it.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to be out of a hangar where we have something like that to a degree, but it's not like ExoJet where it was 24 hours a day, and they would have things moving, because their whole concern was passengers and just making sure that they get to where they need to be
on time,
and their accommodations are met. So, so that just took a lot of pressure off, But your job just to make sure everything comes together. You're the tip of the sword. That's a lot of work, and there's a lot of responsibility, and you are flying people who, don't take always kindly to delays or, setbacks or things not being exactly how they thought it was. So, you have to deal with that as an airline guy. I know that's what I think I can appreciate about the airlines is that if you're somebody who truly just wants to show up, get in the cockpit, fly, and go home, there is no question the airlines where you should be.
Yeah.
That is, hands down. You don't have to deal with passengers. You don't have to, interact with, unruly people. To a degree, maybe you do when people start getting out of hand. But
technically, what's going on? The flight attendants really is the one that
right. They're supposed to handle that.
But you don't even.
But my guess is, again, if you're, I think at the end of the day, right? I think for the airlines, my guess is that still the crew, the captain primarily, they're the ones that have the ultimate control of the airplane. So if they needed to come boot someone off, did they have to come out and do it physically, or can a flight attendant do it?
So I'm going to speak for like I'm not gonna say American, but that platform,
Yeah.
like Envoy American. So no, the flight attendant. So generally the flight attendants are trained specifically for all those stuff in the
Okay.
back for the CPR,
Sure. Yep.
rolly pilots and so forth, rolly passengers and so forth. The pilots generally just makes a phone call. All right, let's call the gate agent. So basically, the question would be, usually the flight attendants will come up. Hey, we have somebody here. Blah 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 blah. The first thing we'll ask, well, do you want us to kick him off the plane?
Yeah.
Answer yes or no. We don't want anything else.
Yeah.
Yes or no. If they say yes, we call the gate agent. The gate agent comes in and remove them. So generally, you usually don't want to go back there because then you're
Sure.
just going to get in their way.
Yeah.
I had a first officer. I think there's a passenger was choking or something. I don't know. And it was a new first officer, and he was getting up to go. I'm gonna go help them. I was like, no, well, don't go back there because you're just gonna get in their way because they're trained for all that stuff. So generally, maybe in the old days, but not in the
Right.
modern.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about some. As we move forward, we compare the 135 to 121, the path. So if I go down the 121 path, the airline path, I'll say this: it's my first year,
Okay.
first officer. All right, I live in Phoenix. I'm based in Dallas. I gotta get to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I gotta be at work tomorrow at 6 a.m. It's 3 p.m. today. There's only 2 more flights left for me to get to work. All right, so I gotta jump on that midnight flight.
Yep.
Get there in the morning. I don't start flying until 6 o'clock, but my day goes until 4 p.m. the entire day, the entire next day. I can if I get to the airport, I'm gonna go down under the basement.
Yeah.
Maybe there's water running.
Yeah.
So your first year as like a corporate pilot, do you feel like you're in a nice, relatively more I don't want to say luxury, but more you're taken care of, as in things are more at a higher hand? Because when you're an airline pilot, your first year, it is not. I mean, you have crash pads.
Yeah. 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 No, that's a great question. I think, and again, I can truly only speak to my experiences, but I can tell you that I know. I'm familiar with what the normal is, what the standard is in the industry for the most part. And again, take this with a grain of salt. If you're out there, trying to just get out with the first person who gives you a shot, it may not be as good. You have to be you have to be cognizant of the companies or the people who you're trying to work for.
Right.
So keep that in mind. But no, that was in my mind, that was one of the beautiful things about corporate aviation, was that you kind of got to bypass the whole seniority thing. Now, seniority still, is in business aviation in terms of, again, kind of the work in the holidays, that kind of stuff. If businesses do travel during that stuff, if you're the new guy at the company, yeah, you should expect that you're going to be at least one of the guys, or girls working, those tough weekends, whatever the case is. But from a standpoint of, from a standpoint of compensation and, quality of life, because, there's really not much that you are going to do that the other pilots aren't doing themselves, right? You may not be getting paid as much as more senior guys there, but your pay, I haven't looked at the numbers in the airlines today, but I can still tell you that when you start flying the bigger, corporate jets, really just your what they call your super midsize and up, pay's pretty good. It's competitive, and I'd argue it's going to be better than any first, second, maybe even third year at a regional for sure.
Yeah.
And then majors, it's kind of, it just depends on what you're flying, what kind of what kind of equipment. But again, you have to factor in how much you work, all that kind of stuff. So that could be a different topic in terms of when you're trying to compare, what's a better route to go for pay and all that stuff. But in terms of just quality of life, no, I never felt that. At PetSmart or even at the company I'm with now, it's just you're. And again, a lot of these companies, once you have experience, you get brought on as a captain for the most part. So you're not. Unless you're flying a brand new airplane that you're not type rated in and you have no experience, flying it. You could still technically come in as a captain. It's a low time one. So or if you're flying international, for example, you don't have any international experience, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for you to be
Right.
as PIC.
Yeah, I'm the man.
Yeah, just
So what the hell am I doing?
yeah. Wait, what are we doing over here? So just you kind of sit in the right seat and learn, right? But that's been my experience.
Yeah.
So
That's the part I hate the most about that's the specific portion of the airline
yeah,
that I just can't stand.
sure. Yeah.
That you're not told about. In my opinion, I don't feel like it's just not told as
Mhm.
much. I didn't know about crash pads until I got to the airlines.
Right.
And you're sleeping in the airport. Like I've seen people sleep in the airports and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And they get up and they go to the crew room and brush their teeth, and it's like, God, I thought it was just so pathetic.
Right.
But anyways, that's so you're able to skip all that and go.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, I felt like I never worked at a job, and yet at ExoJet 135, brand new FO, I was a brand new first officer, but I mean, wasn't really treated like it at all. I mean, I applaud that company for creating a culture that didn't make you feel like that, and I'm sure there are probably a lot of airlines that do the same. I mean, I'm not trying to make it sound like the airlines will make you feel like an FO and remind you of it daily. I mean, maybe your wallet will remind you, but I mean, I don't know in terms of just the culture, but like ExoJet, we were.
Well, that's the thing that you get to American, and it's
Mhm.
like the regionals, and if you get to like the legacies,
Sure.
it's a completely different.
I've heard that.
A completely different
Yeah,
ballgame.
I have
and
heard that. Yeah.
It's almost as if the regional, they treat you like you're I don't want to say the right stepchild or whatever, but they treat
Yeah.
you like you're still probably a pilot, and they gotta hold your hand. They do.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah.
But then you get to the American or whatever, or the legacy, and they treat you like adults.
Right.
Scheduling, and they treat you differently. They ask you and so forth. Anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah, but then the flying itself, is great.
Yeah.
Like the actual flying, being able to maneuver out of Chicago, O'Hare, and you're flying, you feel like you're professional. And then you get on the ground, and it's like, oh God, I gotta deal with this shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, cool, man. Anything you wanted to add, my friend over there, Mr. Nowak?
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking, oh man, I got this great question. I should type it out so I can remember it. No, I don't remember it. Man, I didn't type it out.
It's all right. So you still do CFI stuff?
I keep it current.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't done anything with it in over a year now.
Yeah, I keep
But-
mine current.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I try to I keep in touch with our our former flight school, and again, I mean,
Well-
live close to the airport there, so
Well, Rex told me once when we were doing our CFI training. He says, and I always remember this. I thought it was funny. He said, if you ever let your CFI lapse, don't come around me.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you said that, and I was like, oh, I'm never gonna do that. So.
Yeah.
But everything about being a DP.
I had thought about that for a while. I don't know if it's easy. I don't even know what it takes to do it now. I mean, in terms of how easy it is. I know they, Rex. Speaking of Rex, he was telling me that I think, a lot of these flight schools have gotten their own examining authority.
Oh, really?
On all the levels of certificates for the most part. So the need for a DP,
Not as much.
Yeah, I think has kind of gone down a little bit.
Damn, these flight schools.
I haven't come across any other ones so far that have their own in-house.
Oh, really? You haven't? Not-
UND's been the only one.
Really, that's
Oh,
good
okay.
then.
Now, I don't know about like some of the other bigger ones like
Right.
CAE or...
That's that's probably what he's referring to. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
But like I would have to say, because I did my instrument in commercial at Transpac,
okay,
and we didn't.
so
It
you
was
still,
wait for the random guy to
yeah.
whoever they could find.
Well, and I'd be curious too to see how easy it is, or I shouldn't say easy. That's probably a poor word for it, but just what the process is like to get your DP, your examining
I have a
authority.
feeling we know somebody who's going to figure it out.
Who's that? He's looking at me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to. So there's something I would like to pursue. Apparently, it's very political.
Well, so I've heard that, but also more or less, it's when you go to you got to go back east or wherever to
Your training or whatever. Get standardized.
yeah go through like their training for it. I can't remember the location of it now.
I don't remember. I don't know.
It's a state that's back east from us, but
Yeah.
you don't. I think you have to like apply to if you want to do it here locally in Arizona, for example.
Yeah.
It's and if they have enough of them here already, they don't open up a window for it. It's
That's
like
true.
it's like there's slots, right? So
Yeah.
you can't just say I want to be a DP and compete with all the other DPs here. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'd be curious to know like what the numbers are like and what their need is out here.
So apparently, there's a process. I was invited to do to go to one of their DPE meetings.
Okay.
So the first one. So that's what you have to do. So it's by my opinion. Don't quote me on this. I was told. So there's a process. You got to get introduced. You heard of? Can I say his name? Phil Reynolds. So he's like the head DPE guy.
No.
I've met him before.
Okay.
He's done some check rides with my students or whatever. And it's more of do we really like this guy or not? It really comes down
sure.
to. And then they sign you off. The number stuff, I think you're short. DPEs. It's just that they like you to be short so they can go in and
I can concur with that because other than my commercial add-on, single engine add-on, my instrument and my multi-commercial were both dudes from different states. One guy was from Washington. One guy got pulled in from Michigan.
So they flew him in. Wow.
Yeah, for like a week to just knock out check rides for the school.
Jeez.
So they were just making bank.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
You're there for a week just doing 2 check rides a day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, back in, the 2010, 11, 12 time, I mean, our DP or whatever, Dave, I won't say his last name.
Oh, yeah, that's right. UND had a DP.
Yeah, but he was, he's been around for a long time. Great guy. I mean, he's still doing it, I think. He did a couple of my students, and it was $500 a pop or something at the time back then.
Yeah,
so I'm sure
like 900.
I was going to say it's gone up from there, and I'm like thinking to myself, this is crazy. I mean, he just got paid $500 for like 2 hours of work, or he failed the guy. He failed the guy, an hour. It's like then he gets paid $250 for a re-examination.
Hell yeah, my instrument. I had to recheck. I had to do one VOR approach because I screwed up the circle to land. So I had to pay for half price just for that.
Oh yeah. Do you remember, Rex used to always talk about you guys, and I can tell you guys this, and, for those of you who are getting into flying, you will experience this at some point. It's all part of the process. But you guys remember, flying and doing like the GPS approaches and forgetting to put it in approach mode, basically, right? Or taking it, taking off OBS or whatever. So
that's what I was just saying.
So it doesn't cycle into another hold. It's supposed to, go on to the approach. Or vice versa, if you're going to hold again, you forget to hold it, And if you didn't do that, it was, automatic failure, and that one little button just
there was
damn button, man.
It costs you a review flight and then another check ride. You're just like, oh my god.
I go fly with actually one of my current boss, and we go fly a lot. He's got a 182, and I'll usually sit. I'll do all the navigation crap, set all that up. And my mind just always goes, okay. I always look at that and look at if he lined up his HSI. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm like, needs to be flipped. Yep. Can you turn your HSI?
Yeah. We don't want this to go on, please. Yeah. It's funny. It's and it instills discipline, right? I mean, here we are. You're something you never forgot about, right?
Yeah.
I will say that is a testament to a good flight school, too.
Amen.
I mean,
UND?
Yeah.
Dude, I've been interviewed, was it 3 times? 3 times I've been asked about UND because it's on my application.
Sure.
Oh, so you went to UND? I mean, I'm very specific. Yeah. My previous interview for this job, it were talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good school.
Yeah.
You went to UND, huh? What'd you do? I mean, yeah. So it's absolutely.
The structure. I would say the standardization and the structure.
Yeah.
Which especially as a private pilot, those are foundational skills that I think it's very obvious. And it's not that you can't be a good pilot, not going through those kind of programs, but it's just it amazes me how much of those fundamentals have just been instilled in me throughout my entire career.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking about this last night, and it's actually I was going to type something up on this for one of my segments down the road. But I've been looking at a lot of these stupid aviation. There's a crash up at Sedona a couple weekends ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was just poor decision making is what it looks like to me. That led up to what happened.
Okay.
And I see that all the time. I always joke with myself because I'm always overly cautious. I'll call off flights just, the sky looks bad. Like, that could turn. It's just not worth it. Why
Okay.
take the chance? Just stuff all the time. And I think UND really put that into me because I've gone to other schools as I've spoken, and it's like they preach it, but they don't really. I feel like they don't really push it into you and practice it and feel it because you see it's like when we got to get this done, we're gonna get this done.
Yeah.
And I felt that a couple times at UND. Don't get me wrong, like dude, you got to get that done.
Well, yeah,
but
when you get pushed against the clock because you're trying to finish before the semester's out, and you're running.
It's always a fine line,
right?
Yeah.
But no, I feel like they really gave me that. I trust myself. If I'm making a decision to go, it's the right decision.
Right.
And yeah, they totally gave that to me.
Yeah.
So I went into I got checked out in the Sirius out of Scottsdale. That fly every so often.
Okay.
Have you flown a Sirius?
I never have. I've been told they're.
We're gonna go up. Let's go up.
I've been told they're tricky, a little touchy. I'll say touchy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll go up one of these days. We'll because you golf, right?
I'd love to. Yeah.
You're a golfer.
Oh yeah.
So us three will probably take a plane, head to Sedona or something, go golfing.
Can I carry all three of us in golf clubs?
No, we'll have to rent some clubs or something.
Oh yeah. Well, probably go. Yeah, that's a good point. Now with golf clubs.
Well, you guys could take the Sirius. I'll take the Archer and the golf clubs.
You might be able to. I mean, it's a max.
I won't be in the summer, but
Right. Yeah.
you guys can go in the summer.
Right, yeah. That's another thing about that plane. You can't take. It doesn't for such a plane with
Most of them can't though. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that was always kind of a letdown. I feel like in all general aviation.
You
type.
buy an $800,000 plane
Right.
you can barely use.
Yeah. No, I might.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But so I fly 76, and
Yeah. Which has
To
no.
Sedona?
but coming back, trying to get checked out of that thing, it took me. Dude, I just couldn't get it on the ground.
Yeah.
What is it like for you when you're?
Yeah. Well, that was a big transition for me. Not so much
Yeah.
after PetSmart, because PetSmart I'd only been gone for a year.
Yeah.
Come back to flying UND. But most recently, when I'm still a corporate pilot, but I was just coming over to help them out with check rides. Yes, getting into the Seminole, twin engine, piston airplane. That was a transition. The landing. But more or less for me, it was more of the upper airwork stuff,
Oh, really?
That kind of just put me, not, just because again, you just don't do that in jets, It's certainly not intentionally.
You go into accelerated stalls.
Yeah. So just, and it's just, you're doing things like accelerated stalls. And,
Oh.
it's like, it's just when you spend so many years not doing it,
Yeah.
and
It's a different flying.
it's just different flying.
Completely different.
Yeah. So, it's just the jet is, obviously far more sophisticated,
Yeah.
but in a lot of ways it's easier too once you learn it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? There's so many more things about it, and you're flying a crew, So that's the other thing. It's like you're, when you go back and you're kind of just I'm flying, I'm giving check rides to guys who I don't know. I'm not, and that's the other thing too. So when I was at UND as the lead instructor, with you guys all being there, back in your guys' time, I knew everyone. I knew all the students. I knew your guys' strengths, your weaknesses. I kind of could.
Strengths.
Yeah, mostly strengths.
Mostly,
but I could anticipate what you guys were going to be doing for most of the flight.
I don't think you've ever yelled at me before.
I
think Brian has though.
Well,
I shouldn't say his name. I won't say his name. Let's get it out.
He yells at everyone. He yelled at me, man. And I was one of his good ones. So, that's just his way. We all have our own styles, but I was never. I don't think I've ever yelled at a student before.
Yeah.
I've had a stern talk, but I was always kind of going back to your, thing of, I felt like if I treated students like adults, because this was an adult industry, is an adult thing we're doing. This wasn't an after school club. This was an adult thing. This, people were doing this for careers and that. So I tried, my philosophy was treat you like adults. You don't need to get yelled at when you screw up, but certainly if you do something stupid, you should be told that you did something stupid.
Absolutely.
And lessons learned. I've had students teach me lessons where it's like I got too comfortable, and got too casual, so to speak, and got caught off guard, and it's like, oh my gosh, that could have been bad.
Yeah.
So it's lessons learned on both sides of it, but
Yeah, man. Good. No, the series is actually pretty good. I don't feel like it's just fine.
I've heard it's a great airplane. I just I know it's a little touchy, and my father-in-law was looking at getting one. He has an old school Aero T-tail though, and it's like turbocharged. Yeah, I've flown. I keep him current, so that's actually probably the only GA flying I do now is to fly him and help him do approaches and keep him current. He's got he's a single engine. He's a private pilot with an instrument rating, so pretty standard. He's been doing it for like 20 years.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but and he's not a bad pilot by any means. But so that's my exposure now to most of the flying I do in those kind of airplanes. But
Yeah.
he was looking at him, and that was his I think biggest knock on him was that he wants to, because he's a big golfer too. He wanted something he could take him and 2 buddies,
Yeah.
golf
Beach.
clubs, and go flying. And he's like, I
Yeah.
just doesn't do it.
Doesn't
you
do
know?
it,
He
man.
needs the Beechcraft.
Yeah, I
That's
told
my
him.
plane.
I told him, man. I mean, he keeps wanting me to go on an airplane with him. I'm like,
Explain. Try to explain. So when I first when I got to the airline, when I started, it was 145, and I was like, I'm never flying those small planes ever again. Is that how you feel about? Not probably generally.
I don't have any any ill feelings towards him. I mean, because to a degree, sometimes I feel like it'd be fun to like take the wife up and go
Yeah.
do a sunset flight around the valley. Like seriously, I would love to do it like in an old school Warrior or something like that, where it's
Yeah.
just something that I'm really comfortable in, and it's it's just gonna be like just consistent.
Yeah.
I would be more intimidated by probably a higher powered single engine airplane. That's just not
Yeah.
familiar with flying and being like, this is
Yep.
gonna kill me.
Right.
Because it's
Absolutely.
it's like I feel much more comfortable going and flying the jet single pilot than I would flying one of those things that's designed to be single pilot.
Yeah.
To a degree, it's just when you're not comfortable with the systems, you don't know the speeds and all that stuff, you just don't know what it's gonna do.
Yeah.
It's just hard to be ahead of it.
Yeah.
So, but to your point, no, I think it'd be great to be able to get into like a small airplane. I can't afford them, but like it sounds like if you could get yourself into like what is that really fast single engine that everybody wants? Like the fastest single engine,
The fastest single engine.
turboprop or whatever is a turbine engine. What is that? Not a Meridian, but
Meridian's turbo
is it a Meridian?
turboprop. I don't
Single
know if
engine?
it's the fastest, but yeah, it's a
It's-
single engine.
Yeah, the single engine. The single engine like super nice. It's like $1 million single engine airplane.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. I want to say it's a Meridian.
If not, it's very, very. It's the Meridian's brother. If not, because there's one that's like it, slightly smaller. That's not turbine. It's only piston.
Okay, yeah. This
I know which one you're talking about.
it's got like a cruise speed of like 300 knots.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's no joke for a single engine airplane.
Single engine.
Yeah, I want to say Meridian, but I could be wrong. But like I think, look, if you could afford one of those, I mean,
Yeah.
I would be in one of those all day long. That'd be great.
Yeah.
They're all retrofitted.
Let's go in on one, bro.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's but to me, because that's pressurized, that could get you up into high altitude airports, no
Yeah.
problem.
Mhm.
It probably has a decent payload with it,
Yeah.
conservatively speaking.
This says the Meridian is 260 true airspeed max cruise.
That's probably not it then.
So it's, yeah.
I can't believe I'm missing the name on it now. But if I think about it, you'll figure it out. You got the
Yeah, I'll
the Google,
figure it out.
Do like just high end single engine, turbine airplanes or something. I mean, I don't
Figure
know.
that shit out, Mark. Let's go.
Because I want to say it has. It's like it's. I mean, like the Pilatus is a great airplane, right?
Oh,
yeah. Yep.
That'd be great. But this thing is like more. This thing's like more sexy. It's like
Yeah.
it's got
Yeah.
like the nice like
Slick.
camel leather seats and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
like the club seats in the back.
Clean.
Yeah, real clean. I mean, I can't think of the name of it now, but anyway,
All
yeah.
right, man.
Yeah.
It's definitely a Piper.
There's a Piper.
Yeah, because I know what he's talking about.
I can't remember. I want to say it starts with an M. That's why I'm
It
thinking
might
Meridian.
be the Malibu. I'm looking
Yeah,
at
well,
that.
no, it's not a Malibu. It's
Not a
Not
Malibu.
a Malibu.
Is that slow?
Well, it's not. I just know it's not.
I know. Yeah, you know what a Malibu is.
The thing is, I'm gonna walk out here and I'm just gonna come to right away. I'm gonna be like, let's fire this thing back up. I want to tell you.
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, this keeps saying Meridian.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
single engine turboprop. It just but I mean that was true airspeed though. That doesn't
Right.
really mean
Okay,
airspeed.
True. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, and maybe I'm off a little bit. I thought it was like a 300 knot type airplane, but
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty close. Even
Pretty
if it
damn
was,
close,
that
yeah.
was 260.
yeah. I mean, you're not gonna be too upset about that in a single engine. That's
I
for
mean,
sure.
you get a nice tailwind.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing
Oh yeah.
300 and something miles an hour.
Yeah. So.
Well, we definitely have more questions though, so we'll have to have you back. for
Oh man,
sure.
I could do. Yeah. Well, that's just it. There's a lot that I mean. Depending on what the goal of the show is, I mean, we could go into
A lot of
hours of this
things.
kind of stuff,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, aviation is such an in-depth topic,
Yeah.
I wish I had this kind of stuff when we were going through, because
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I chose business aviation more or less because of Rex and because of I just liked working with people, and I kind of thought that was going to give me that, accessibility to do so.
Like business aviation for your degree?
For my career.
Your career?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, because and I'm sure you guys were the same way. When I started going to UND as a student, it was airlines or cargo.
Yeah.
Nobody mentioned business aviation, corporate flying.
Corporate
Nobody.
flying, yeah.
Nobody talked
Well,
about it.
they still really kind of, like, the schools don't push it. It's weird.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, their whole agenda is really set up to
To get
their
you
marketing is
We're
to-
partnered with.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their marketing is set to say
That's
we're
so
going to
true.
set you up for the airlines, which is not a bad thing. I mean, again, I think by and large, most people can have lucrative careers in the airline industry.
Oh yeah.
I mean, lucrative. Great pay, great schedule, great quality of life.
You know how much I made last year? I'll tell you.
I'm not asking, but if you want to say, go.
I'm not gonna. I'll tell you. I won't put it on a podcast. I'll bleep it out. Last year I made.
Just flying the 7.6.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Well,
nuts?
but I worked extra. you
Sure.
know. But if I didn't work extra, I would have been like
Which is
but-
still a great pay. I mean,
And I'm
yeah.
on third. I'm just on. Well, the last year I was on second year pay. I'm an FO.
yeah.
I'm not even a captain yet. But yeah, I mean,
Where are you based out of? I don't understand.
Home
How,
base.
how do you even do this anymore?
what are you even doing? How do you?
Yeah, I'm
So
confused.
technically, so talking about being base. So I'm home base.
Oh,
They
yeah.
fly me where
yeah,
I want to go.
and that's what
So-
ExoJet did. They would just airline you wherever the plane was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
Now, in the airline, you're based wherever they
Right.
tell you you're based.
right.
Now, so this is another thing you want to think about pilots or think about going to the airline. They don't tell you about until you get there. Even the legacy, they do this. So if you live in Phoenix, you're based in Dallas, all right? Your route, for example. So your route flies you from Dallas, which is where you're based, to, say, Little Rock, Arkansas.
Sure.
You spend the night in Little Rock, the airline gives you a hotel
Okay.
because you're no longer in base.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You do a turn, so you got to do a flight from, Dallas, Little Rock, back to Dallas. When you're back in base, the airline goes, all right, have at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you gotta go find your own
Go,
spot.
go
right?
look, don't even talk to you anymore.
You're home.
Yeah, man, you're
Get the hell out of
done.
here.
Yeah, you're like, no, I'm not home. My home is in Phoenix.
Yeah.
You're done,
We
dude.
flew
That's,
over it, like 20 minutes ago.
yeah.
So that's that right there. You jump seat to get to work. So you gotta book, find a way to get to work,
Yep.
whatever it costs. So that just those two takes years off your life.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, the stress that goes with that, commuting, trying to fight the American airline pilots for the jump seat. And,
Sure.
and American is known to oversell their planes, right? So they got 200 seats.
Just
that-
American.
Right.
Well,
I
the airlines are
think
doing-
they all do that now.
You know?
Yeah.
so it's almost a guarantee you're not
Yeah.
going to make it unless you get a jump seat. So
Brutal.
that is the part, and I'll be honest, that's the part of the industry that's is just it's tough.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when I say tough, like you're losing sleep and all that stuff on it. I mean, you're always
Sure.
tired.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Well, and that's important for your guys' viewers to understand. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's there's every segment has its ups and downs. I mean, it all depends on what you're willing to tolerate. What you're willing to accept. They all have their really good pros, but those are cons of the airline industry, in my opinion. Cons of corporate are probably the lack of a schedule. Most
Yep,
cases you don't
yep.
have one. Some give you better heads up than others in terms of when you're going and when you're flying and et cetera. Some don't. But it just but you're home based and you're not having to commute, for example. So it just really all depends. Charter, you're scheduled, but you're grinding when you're out there. It's a lot of work. So
Well, another thing about the airline is it's kind of weird. If you do live where you're based, it is a completely different job.
right, I've been told that.
It's
yeah.
amazing how it's like a 180.
Yeah.
If you live where you're based, it's almost as if you don't even have a job. You just have it's a hobby, really.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I've got a couple buddies who are Southwest Phoenix based, live here, and they are just loving life.
Yeah, I've
man.
never met an
Yeah.
upset Southwest pilot.
Right. Oh yeah. I don't think.
Oh,
there-
yeah.
I mean, I don't think there are very many of them. If there are,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
true.
It sounds like a great company. And again, that goes back to culture, though.
Oh yeah.
That's one thing I will say about the industry as a whole is that there are certain jobs that may look great on paper, great equipment, great pay, but the culture sucks.
Yeah.
And that's something that I mean, for me, that's a deal breaker.
Yep.
But some people don't care. I mean, it just depends on what you're willing to accept and what you're in it for. So
Yeah, and that's with my job. Honestly, it's the best. I mean, I'll say this. I don't want the company to hear this because I don't want to. We're going on a negotiation, so
Yeah.
the contract. But I don't work, dude. Like
Yeah.
it's. I mean, they tell me they got a schedule. I'm home base. they say, hey, there's a flight. They need to get to the flight. I Uber to the flight. To get to the plane, a freaking limo comes up and somebody picks up my bag and bring me to the plane. I get out of the plane. I go in there. There's usually four pilots on the aircraft. There's a chance that you're not doing. The third guy is not doing shit.
Yeah.
So usually it's the captain is always flying. If you're a captain, he doesn't have to be, but he has to be in the left seat at a point.
Right.
You know, the guy that's flying, he's doing the landing. The guy that does the weight and balance, and this other guy, I'll just do a quick walk around, and he's done.
Yeah.
Like he's done for the entire.
Earned his paycheck. For
Yeah,
that.
man, it's over. Then.
I'll take a gin and tonic and I'll be up in the crew rest.
All right, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look
that
at
looks good. Let's roll.
Just roll, man. He's done. And that's it. He's getting paid.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and you get to the hotel, you go hang out with the guys, just living it up, having sushi, whatever. And it's just a great thing.
Yeah.
You know.
But now, so your schedule though, you said you're 18 on and 12 off.
Generally, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the kickback. So this will be tough for if you're married,
Right.
unless your wife doesn't like you to be in the house.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it would be. So this one will be relatively tough, I think, if you have kids,
Sure.
because you're gone for
Yeah.
you're gone for a while.
You're gone half the
Unless
month.
you don't like your kids.
Unless you don't like your kids.
Yeah.
But then you're home 2 weeks, and then you feel like for me, there's times I feel like, God damn, I've been home I've been home forever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And there are times when they have what's called long call, where you're home and it says long call. It's 10-hour call, 12-hour call out. There's times when they don't use
They
you.
don't call you.
So you have a lot of times that
Is that like reserved for you guys? Basically, you're sitting reserve.
it's reserved. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't drink and do anything.
I'm
Technically,
out.
technically,
Yeah.
no, 12.
Yeah.
No, long call you can drink because it's a 12-hour call out. So as long as it's within the, I won't say that. But the rule, it's 8 hours.
Right. As long as you're not.
Within that time frame,
Yeah.
you're fine.
Busting the 8 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the nice thing about 91 is that you kind of police yourself. Again, not that we would be drinking inside 8 hours, but
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to have all that. Like you don't have to worry about that per se. You're kind of responsible for your own self as well. So you have to you have to be, I think, maybe more of a disciplined individual, to fly 91. Yeah, just I mean, I've heard horror stories where it's like guys just went a little too heavy on the road there, and it's
You
like,
think I'm going to blow a .04?
yeah, it's
Last
like-
night was rough.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to find out a way to say you can't find your co-pilot. Be like, we'll just say I can't find you. I don't know where you're at. And
Yeah.
just,
Is that how it is? You just say.
well, I mean, thankfully
In
it's never
general?
happened to me. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I've heard stories where it's you have a co-pilot who because like if a trip's supposed to be out there, maybe you think you're going to be gone for 3 days, right, and whatever,
Yeah.
right, and they change
Change
their minds and they want to
Yeah.
leave that night, right,
Yeah.
and they tell you that at noon the next day, like. Hey, we want to leave tonight at 6,
Yeah.
and you're deep into your third margarita. You're just like, oh
Yeah.
god, like, this is gonna be a problem. Yeah. So I've heard of stories
Check,
like that.
please.
Yeah. So and they're just like, okay, we're gonna say, you hear about them trying to figure out how they're gonna try to tell their principals or their their boss
yeah,
that
man. Yeah.
that's gonna be a challenge for
Yeah.
us to make that work.
The general concept in the 121 world. So you can be, don't quote me on this, FAA or Part 121 people, but based on what I've seen, you can be, the portion that gets you in trouble is when you go through that jet bridge.
Sure. Yeah.
So you can go all the way up to that jet bridge, wasted as fuck.
And then say, you know what, I probably shouldn't be here today.
Yeah. You know what? On second thought, I'm gonna turn around real quick, and you're I'm gonna call sick real quick.
Yeah, you made the decision.
Yeah.
to say,
As soon as you and they'll allow you, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
They'll open that door and welcome you in to let you do it, to catch you.
Yeah.
The gate agent will. But as soon as you walk through that jet bridge, you're done.
You're essentially saying you're committed to flying.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, they'll let you go sit in your seat, and then call the fucking police.
Man, yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
They've done it a lot with a lot of
Sure.
American guys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You
hear stories about it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can convince the guy, or tell the guy, hey, you might want to do a about face here and do a U-turn and head back to the hotel.
About face.
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
You're gonna say you're sick right now.
That's what it is.
Sick.
Yeah. I think you're catching a cold.
I think you have food poisoning.
And what you
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
do right now, sir, is turn around and go develop a 104-degree fever.
Yeah. Yeah.
ASAP.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
But,
Save
yeah.
I'll call dispatch.
Yeah. Save your career right
Save
now.
it, man. It's just not. It's not worth it.
No.
It's not worth it, man.
So, quick question.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna turn us, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we kind of all know what it takes to come out of school now. And I mean, there's been the COVID hiccup, but I think it's going to bounce back to, you go in, do your ratings, do your certificates, CFI, right? Unless you're one of the few that you have 300 hours and somehow you got right seat somewhere.
Yeah.
You build your time, you get sucked up by the regionals, and then at some point you go into the main line or then kind of still go towards a 121 career, I'd imagine. Is there a way to come out of CFI like you did and go straight into corporate? Or are you still thinking regional guys instead of when they're done with the regionals and they built their time there, then they choose to keep going airline or then stave over to corporate? And does the regionals even help that?
Well, so I guess 2 parts. One, I think airline time does help because it gives you operating jets, right? That gives you exposure to flying just the type of equipment that would make it easy for you to come over to the corporate side and fly as well. Now, typically, corporate, business jet aviations, they're usually, well, I don't know about now compared to the airlines, but they're usually, for the most part, you're flying newer stuff, more technically advanced, avionics, that kind of stuff that you wouldn't probably find in most of the equipment you're seeing on the regionals and stuff like that. They're always pretty older,
and modern, and
right.
Even I'm assuming, I've noticed like the nav, it's all. I mean, if you look at like a Airbus, it's all old 1980s shit.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know to the degree. I mean, like I said, I can't speak to everything that's going on in the airlines, but from my experience, from what I've talked to, that seems to be the case. But the point being is that I think if you want to go corporate, and I've been in a position where I've hired some people before when I was managing a plane. I think there's always been this like stigma, corporate guys versus 121 guys, right? And how we view each other. If you're a business aviation guy, you think airline guys are lazy and aren't skilled pilots, and vice versa. They probably think corporate guys are, we're just envious of them and wish we could be them type of thing.
Oh, you got it on. You got it 100%. That's it right there.
So that was always how it was like presented to me when I got into my first corporate job. I don't think that's entirely correct, but I will say that as a corporate pilot, our jobs are far fewer and in between in terms of opportunities to have jobs. Whereas airline guys, you have all these airlines you can choose from who are hiring thousands of pilots. So for me, like when I see an airline guy coming out of, like, especially the retired ones who retire early and now they're applying for like the Falcon 7X job that I want,
which they do often, by the way. I just spoke with Captain as he's thinking about doing that.
Yeah, that infuriates me.
That pisses you off?
Well,
interesting.
I'll say this. I should say infuriates me because I understand why they're probably doing it. They're probably not ready to be done flying. But I will say that most corporate department managers, like aviation department managers, most of them will probably, maybe not to your face, but they're not looking to hire airline guys.
Right.
That's not what they want.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because typically airline guys, just by the nature of the business, they get lazy in terms of the customer service.
Well, absolutely.
And the extra jobs that come with being a corporate pilot. We make sure the catering is all good. Sometimes we got to get it. We actually glad handle the passengers. We get them on board. We'll get them something to drink, coffee, whatever the case is. It's not that we're playing flight attendant, but to a degree we are, unless we have them with us. Then we make sure their transportation shows up and that they get to their transportation okay. You walk them into the FBO. I mean, there's a lot of things that it's customer service oriented. And airline guys and gals just naturally over time I think they just lose that aspect of it because they don't have to. They don't have to do it, right? So if I'm a guy looking to hire a pilot, if I'm looking to hire a younger person, I would prefer that they don't have a whole bunch of 121 time because I'm going to automatically assume that they're not probably going to be cut out.
I'm just here to fly. I got to carry a bag.
And it's the attention to detail. Again, it's if something goes wrong, they're used to calling dispatch and saying, make this go away. Well, it's like we don't have that luxury. We are if we created the problem, we're also the solution type of thing, So I would say that, no, personally, I mean, if you have interest in going into business aviation, you still got to get your time. So my advice is, personally, I mean, if you're in flight school right now, become a flight instructor. That's because that's just the fastest way to build time.
I agree with that.
But if you have other means of doing it, that's fine too. But then really start networking. That's it.
Yeah.
Network. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you may even get lucky and get a job that will let you sit right seat, SIC, and
Been looking
get,
for a citation gig like that for a while.
Yeah, well, they're out there. They're out there. But it's just networking, right? And it's all about personality. I mean, again, I got that PetSmart job because I didn't have the highest time and I certainly didn't have the most experience, but I got it because I fit for the mold that they were looking for. Yeah. Personality and the fact that they could mold me into a.
That's important, by the way. What are you saying there? I think.
Yeah.
Just unfortunately, I do think even the airlines they look at there's some each and there's a culture I think with Delta whatever, but there is a specific mold, a specific type of person they're looking for based on I've been I'm not gonna want to sound cocky, but I think if people ask me why did you get hired out with the airline, I'd be like, I am what the airline is looking for. And the reason why I say that is because for every job I've applied for, I interviewed, I always got the job. I think I'm what they're looking for based on I don't know what it is, but so that's a good point. I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, again, you have to figure two things. One, they're looking to hire someone who they can stand behind on the road with, right?
That's important. That's so important.
I mean,
that's a very important point.
You're stuck with this person for a couple of days minimum, usually at a time. So it's like, let's make sure that they will get along with everyone else here. Because that doesn't always happen. When you have that one person who nobody else really likes, that can be toxic on a flight department, because everyone's trying to avoid getting trips with them, and not wanting to go on the road with them, and it creates a mess. It's very seldomly does that work itself out, So, it's a personality, It's do you have good judgment? Do you have good character?
Yeah.
And again, consider the fact too that in most cases you're flying, pretty prominent people. I mean, CEOs of major corporations or executives, and or just if it's an owner airplane. I mean, people who have a lot of high net worth, and so, they expect that you're going to represent them, in a manner that is fitting of what they are, and that's kind of what it's all about, So
cool, man. Yeah. Cool. I guess we'll cut it here, this is good, man.
I could do this all day, man. This is fun.
Dude, let's do it. I'm having Arrington's gonna be coming on pretty soon.
Okay.
So if one of these days you want to do you and Arrington,
we'd have a blast because he was my student from day one all the way through. So that'd be kind of fun. Him and I could have some fun with that.
Yeah, man. He's tanker pilot now.
Tanker pilot. Yeah.
It's literally the coolest thing ever.
It's fun watching all you guys. I mean, and again,
I know. I'm a hoot, huh?
No.
Yeah. What are you still flying, Mark? An Archer?
No,
I stepped up from the Warrior a long time ago.
Yeah. And Mark, you'll find what you're looking for there soon.
You'll get there, man.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, you may get the best corporate job of all of us. Who knows? Who knows what you're gonna get?
Yeah.
You may get flying something new that
That's
nobody's ever heard
son
of.
Of a bitch.
I mean, it happens. It happens.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's hang out, man. We'll talk. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you were a good guest. Good information. Good stuff here. So guys, listen. Captain's Log is brought to you by Opens Aircraft or Captain's Log Podcast because it's a sponsor on podcast. Got anything to go, Mark? What do you want to say?
I think we've all covered it.
We're done.
I'm good.
Good to go.
We're good.
Peace.
So long, boys.
We're out. All
All right.
Boom.
Moving